Meet Blazing Zoga by Blaze Wizard Lomien Boss Mule. Since the Night of Cygnus revamp and the Ignition update, I've been playing this character regularly, defeating bosses and gathering their crystals so I can sell them for a big chunk of mesos every week. Here's how I do it. Okay, stop the video right there. Before we go over Culvert and my weekly bosses, I have to talk about Blaze Wizard as a class and go over these skills together with you guys, because Blaze Wizard is actually kind of tough to play and we have a ton of skills to choose from and everything's kind of good, so here's the skinny. First off, you have a summon. It can either be a lion, or if you downcast it, it can be a fox. If you cast the lion, you're in mobbing mode. If you cast a fox, you're in bossing mode. This affects a couple of skills. First off, your main attack will return to you if you are in lion mode. If you are in the fox mode, they will not return to you. Then you have two skills that can either be used for mobbing or bossing respectively. So let me just show off the bossing version right here. So first of all, you have Towering Inferno, just shoots out one straight fireball, 30-second cooldown. And next up you have Savage Flame, which you can cast to send out multiple homing projectiles. I prefer the bossing version of Savage Flame over the mobbing version. But if you're interested in that, here's the mobbing version. And this would be Towering Inferno. Then you have another summon, which is a big sun, rolls forward, stays around for a couple of seconds, but you'll have to resummon it constantly. Then you have a teleport skill, which you can just set up as a point and return to it without cooldown, which is super handy also for mobbing. Next up is your iframe. Looks amazing, really feels like an iframe, I love it. Then you have another big fire blast on a short cooldown that is called Orbital Inferno, one of your 5th drop skills. You also want to mix that in constantly. Then this is your bind. So lastly, let's go over the buffs here. They either add passive damage or enhance your main attacking skills, so you shoot out a bunch of flames at once. Then next you have Burning Conduit, which is a party buff. You can see it actually here in the top right corner that it is applied to me. Party members need to stand in it to get the buff. Blaze Wizards themselves can leave the area and still have the buffs applied to themselves. You want to run a little bit of buff duration, so you have this up constantly. Other than that, you have your standard 10% damage buff, and in this case Empress Cygnus Blessing for Maple Warrior 2. And these are basically your most important skills. So next up, I want to go over the proper burst rotation here, and I have to use a YouTube video for this because actually it's kind of tough to explain otherwise, and the resources already exist. I'll link it in the comments if you want to see the whole video. It has the burst rotation for every class, at least that is in KMS. Also keep in mind KMS doesn't have attack speed 2, so some burst rotations might be a little different. So you would start off with Maple Warrior 2 and your 10% damage skill, cast the Salamander, Burning Conduit, the party buff, your small chickens, Blazing Inferno, AB Link, your Tower of Ring, Savage Flame, then Orbital Inferno, and then you would hold down the pizza skill, which I haven't addressed yet, but I'll do it shortly. After you're done with the pizza, you would cast Phoenix Drive to enhance your main attack and continue attacking from there, mixing in Orbital Flame whenever it's up. Alright, so let's talk about the best skill in the game, Inferno Sphere. If you hold down the skill, it will start casting the infamous pizza. And you can hold this down for as long as you have stacks in your counter on the skill. These stacks are filled up every 12 seconds and you can hold up to 10 of them at a time. So let's get into bossing. So we pick things back up in Culvert here. You have to know that I'm not actually aware of a proper Culvert rotation for Blaze Wizard, but I still like to contribute towards our guild skills. Compared to my other bossing mules, the Blaze Wizard is a little bit underfunded, but it still does the trick and takes on Lomien quite fast. We are clocking in at around 18k int, our WSC is already legendary, we have 2 lines on the weapon, 2 lines on the shield, and 1.5 lines on the emblem. Something that I definitely want to improve in the future. Blaze Wizard is a special class because you are actually using a shield instead of the Princess Snow secondary, which also means that I didn't even bother doing the Princess Snow pre-crest on this character. I'm missing out on a couple of million mesos each week, but that's completely fine with me. Besides that, the rest of the gear isn't yet completely done. I'm still missing the Golok set, but I'm constantly working towards it. I have 2 15% ID familiars, and together with my big legion, this is already enough to do a proper amount of damage to the 300 PDR bosses. When it comes to my nodes, these are not yet completely maxed, but the boost nodes are done and the main attacking skills are also maxed. So with all of that out of the way, we reach a Culvert score of 550 and can enter Lotus. So here you can see me buffing up, probably not as good as was shown in the video, right? But I always try my best when playing this class. In Lotus P1 you can make use of your teleport summon to avoid the lasers and get into phase 2 without any issues. So here in P2 I start off by putting down Burning Conduit and activating Phoenix Drive. Having both of your burst skills on 90-second cooldowns is amazing, especially for Lomien boss mule that constantly enters different bosses, so you'll always have something up to throw at them. And although I think that Blaze Wizard is probably the hardest boss mule that I have, it is still super fun to play. But let's be honest here, I think there's still a lot of potential here to improve my Blaze Wizard skills. Starting out, I usually just watch my buff bar to see if I can throw something else out, and usually still miss a lot of things that I could use. So one strategy that you see Blaze Wizards use constantly is that they always have their teleport summon put down just in case they need to escape any boss pattern. So they usually put it down in the left or right side of the map or somewhere safe. With that out of the way, in phase 3 I have enough stacks on my pizza skill so I can completely ruin Lotus's day. Although as you saw you can be stunned during it and would fall down to the floor, you also don't have to cast it in the air, it's just something that I'm so used to doing from Nightwalker's rapid throw. But still I'm not discouraged and just re-engage and finish the fight off. Next up is Damien, and I have to say I always make excellent use of my life counter in this boss fight. I usually end up dying many times, not necessarily because Damien is so difficult to beat, but usually I end up jumping into the air, holding down the pizza skill and die as soon as I touch the ground. But still, having something to attack Damien with while he's in the air feels super nice, and I think that is a big plus when you consider making a bossing mule. So with Damien out of the way, I end up fighting my nemesis, Golox. For me, this is another weekly boss, simply for the fact that I can't be bothered to log into my bossing mules every day to finally finish the superior Golox set. Again, you can see me make excellent use of the pizza skill. It feels like it should be an iframe, right? But unfortunately that would be probably a little too OP. Although I think Blaze Wizards would deserve it. Anyways, in phase 2 of the boss fight, I end up playing it safe, standing right next to the left portal, so he doesn't cast any more of his patterns and I can easily take him down. I utilize the sun summon here to clear out all the mobs on the bottom and end up finishing Golox easily. Although, a little slow. So these were the hardest bosses that I have to face on the weekly on my Blaze Wizard. The other bosses are a complete breeze at this point and I just punch through them. Especially since my good buffs are on a 90-second cooldown, I can always throw something at them. At the end of the day, I end up selling my junk and collecting my bounty. In this case I hit sell all and collect 2.6 billion mesos. I think that was the loot from 2 weeks and I was glad at this moment since I was still able to sell the crystals from last week and my effort was still rewarded. And lastly, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you will know that this video was a little out of the ordinary, right? I'm actually on vacation right now, celebrating my honeymoon with my beautiful wife, traveling across Asia and celebrating our marriage. So, just in case you're a new viewer and this is the first video you've watched on this channel, I usually upload a progression log of my main character, a Nightwalker that I've burnt in Ignition. I upload my progression videos weekly on Thursdays and be back soon, so if you want to stick around, feel free to subscribe and I see you around. Take care everybody, bye bye.